So you take a look at someone like this woman here who's got the elevated shoulder. I'm looking at her pelvis because this is the foundation. We talked about the motor unit. The foundation has to be squared. It has to be level with gravity. It has to be perpendicular so the spine can stay at right angles. So if this hip is up, what she's doing an atypical compensation pattern, which we will talk about. She's actually offsetting into the elevation. Most people offset away from the elevation. So she's offsetting into the elevation, which is causing the same side shoulder to pull up and pull her back over again. But regardless, it's still a function of the asymmetrical or imbalanced foundation that she has. So when I get somebody like this, and you know, when and if you go through level 3, all we talk about are people who have pain, certain types of pain issues, and how to address them sequentially with the measurements and then the exercises. But then we do introduce, okay, what if somebody's in a lot of pain? Well, for someone like this, she's got 2 bulge discs in her neck, and she's got a lot of pain, and she's obviously protecting that, isn't she? There's a big protection mode that the body goes through, that the brain goes through. Am I going to touch this on our first session? Heck no. I'm going to stay the heck away from that. I don't want to touch that. When I think pain, when you think pain, what color do you think?
Red.
Red. You didn't have to think twice about that, did you? What other adjectives can you think of when you think of pain in red?
Brace.
Brace. What else? Emotion. Inflammation, irritation, right? So there's a lot of stuff going on in that area to try to protect it, isn't it? Because that's what the body does as well with compensation, is try to protect an area. So the last thing that I want to do is mess with that. I don't want to mess with that at all. I want to stay the heck away from it. Because it's not the problem. It's the perceived problem, isn't it? Because everybody that comes in with pain, that's the problem. Now, if I don't explain myself well enough to my clients, sometimes I'll get, well, why aren't you working on my shoulder? Well, sorry, let me re-explain myself. It's not the problem. Shoulder's not the issue. It's the foundation that your spine's sitting on that's causing your shoulder to come up. So if we don't correct this shoulder's never going to have a chance to release. It's what I call the indirect healing process. Everybody wants to directly heal. If you have an issue, we want to go after it and we want to massage it, we want to needle it, we want to do everything to that spot. But I'm telling you, if you understand the body from a leveraged perspective, from a lever and pulley perspective, then everything has a pattern and a connection around gravity. All these parts. Gravitation, the definition of gravitation, are all of these different segmental parts acting as one. That's called gravitation. As a whole, it acts on gravity as a weight. We learn about that as well in more depth. But the reality is that all these parts are screwed. They're discombobulated. They're compromised. So all I want to do is work on the main dysfunction, which is what I typically do for most people that come in for the first session, is we look, even though we're going to measure the whole body, right? We're going to go over all that today, and we're going to practice all day tomorrow. But this really is our primary source of correcting first. Hips, pelvis, getting them leveled, getting the angles to pull back into more even of an angle. I don't care if it's 10 degrees at this point. I just care that they're even. But this is something you can't eyeball, guys. This is my point. When you can put measurements to the body, you unveil a whole underlying understanding of what's going on in the body. You cannot just look at somebody and say, oh, that's your issue. You can't do that because you can't measure this. And even if you know what this might produce, you still don't know to what effect or to what specificity it projects. Because it's all relational. Everything about the software that I created is all relational. It's all algorithms based upon these measurements. How does one measurement affect another? And in what plane does it work? Period.
What about the feet?
Okay, what about the feet? You want to go on a whole nother seminar? Let's talk about the feet. I talk about the feet as it relates to the tire of a car. If your alignment is out on a car, what's going to happen to a tire or tires?
It wears.
They're going to wear unevenly, aren't they? So if I take my car to the mechanic and the mechanic diagnoses you with uneven wear in your tires and replaces your tire,
It doesn't fix the wear.
does it fix the tire problem? The brand new tire is going to wear the same way, isn't it? So feet and knees are extensions of your hips, not the other way around. I have a complete different philosophy with that. A lot of people think that feet are the issue, that if you correct the feet, everything else will go away. So we do orthotics or we do foot manipulation. They're just products. And we'll talk about leverage with this in terms of action-reaction, because if you have a hip that's pulled backwards, it automatically collapses the foot because you have no leverage to actually hold those muscles in place. So just by putting an orthotic in your left foot, it doesn't automatically pull your left hip into extension. What it does more is just going to shift the hip around and cause something else. This is another complaint that I get from my clients. Well, I had plantar fasciitis. I went and saw my podiatrist. I got an orthotic, custom made, cost me $400, but I don't have any plantar fascia. I feel great now. But you know what? A month later, my back started killing me. And they don't see the relationship. Because all it did is just cause the body to compensate another way. It didn't fix the structural issue. Now, again, I'm not opposed to orthotics either, but in the right moment, in the right time, let's fix all of these issues first as best we can, and then we can put orthotics in. One of the questions on our questionnaire is, do you wear orthotics? If they say yes, then I automatically circle it because I know what I'm going to do. When they come in, I tell them, make sure you bring your shoes that have the orthotics in. We don't really talk about it, but what we'll do is I go through my whole assessment. You go through the whole assessment without shoes, right? Because we want natural. Shoes, anyway, are dysfunctional. We weren't born with shoes, especially high heels. I hate it when I wear my wife's high heels. Oh, never mind. Sorry, that's... The point is that I take the measurements and I show them how screwed up they are, right? I take them through the exercises, because we're going to do that here in a second with Sue. Show them how their body can actually correct immediately, because this after picture was 20 minutes later. This wasn't 4 months, this wasn't 6 months, this was 20 minutes later. And all I did is address her hip. Got her hip to release, strengthened it in the other planes to make sure that it was stabilized, the shoulder dropped. I know, right? Look at that. And we laughed about her shirt because it was perfect. She said, I'm never wearing that shirt again. I said, no, please, keep wearing it. In fact, we're going to design a symmetry shirt for our clients that has a grid on it.
Right, exactly.
But look at that. I was telling Ramana here, if you look at down here where it says symmetry before, my wife edited this PowerPoint. She has a sad face here. And then on the after picture, there's a happy face. But she did. She left happy. She still had some pain, but it was a 2 rather than an 8. And she hasn't had surgery since. It's been 3 years, 4 years since I've seen her. So this is the question. How is your posture?